Ever notice how in those action movies, the hero always digs deep and finds that, like, hidden strength to beat the odds?
Hmm.
Well, today we're diving into a story about that kind of hidden strength, but this time it's inside us. And scientists are, well, they're trying to use it to fight cancer.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and get this, our secret weapon, it's called GITR.
GITR.
Yeah, it stands for Glucocorticoid-induced tumor necrosis factor receptor.
Okay, that's a mouthful.
I know, right?
Oh.
But don't let the name scare you. This tiny protein, it could totally change how we treat cancer.
I'm all ears.
So before we get into GITR, let's talk about how cancer actually, does its thing.
Big point.
It's seriously sneaky. And it's not just cells growing out of control. It's way more complicated.
Yeah, it's like a camouflage expert.
What do you mean?
Well, cancer cells, they're masters at hiding from our immune system, which, is supposed to be our defense line.
Right. It's supposed to catch those rogue cells.
Exactly. But one of cancer's tricks is these things called checkpoints in our immune system.
Checkpoints, like roadblocks for our immune cells.
Yeah, exactly. They're usually there to keep our immune cells from, like, going into overdrive, and attacking healthy tissue.
Okay, makes sense.
But cancer cells, they can, like, trigger these checkpoints, sending a fake all-clear signal.
So our immune system gets totally duped.
Pretty much, yeah. It's like a false alarm. And the cancer cells, they get a free pass.
And that's where GITR swoops in to save the day.
You got it. GITR is one of those immune checkpoints. But here's the thing. It's got this, like, dual personality.
Dual personality.
Yeah, it can be a brake and an accelerator for our immune response.
Wait, it plays both sides. How does that even work?
Okay, so imagine GITR as a conductor, right, leading an orchestra. It can tell certain immune cells, like these effector T cells, to get more active, more aggressive.
So like turning up the volume on those cells, making them into like superpowered cancer fighters.
Exactly. But here's where it gets really interesting. GITR also talks to these other T cells called regulatory T cells, or Tregs. Yeah, they're like the peacekeepers, making sure the immune system doesn't go haywire.
Right. Got to keep things in check so the immune system doesn't attack healthy cells.
For sure, but in the fight against cancer, these Tregs, well, they're not always so helpful.
Really? Why is that?
Well, you see, in the tumor microenvironment, where the cancer cells and immune cells battle it out, Tregs can actually be a problem.
A problem? How so?
Well, they try to, suppress the immune response to keep things calm, but in doing that, they can accidentally shield the tumor, letting it grow unchecked.
So they're trying to keep the peace, but they might actually be helping the enemy.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to break up a fight, but they accidentally give the bad guy a shield,
I get it. Tricky situation. But we were talking about GITR and how it can, like, help us control those peacekeepers, right?
Exactly. By understanding how GITR affects those attackers and the peacekeepers, scientists are hoping to tip the scales and help the immune system win the fight.
So it's like not just unleashing the whole immune system, it's more like fine-tuning it.
Exactly. It's all about precision, making sure the right cells are targeted.
Okay, that makes sense.
Mm.
But how do we actually use this GIPR thing to fight cancer? What are scientists doing with it?
Well, right now, there are two main approaches they're exploring. The first one uses what we call agonistic anti-GITR antibodies.
Antibodies, those are already used in, like, tons of treatments, right?
They are, but these agonistic antibodies, they're special.
Oh, so?
Well, they're designed to attach to GITR and, like, mimic its natural activator.
So they're sending a fake signal, basically telling GITR to turn it up to 11 on those cancer-fighting cells.
That's a great way to put it. And the really exciting part is that these agonistic anti-GITR antibodies, they're already being tested on people.
Wow, so this is actually happening. That's incredible. What kind of cancers?
They're in trials for things like melanoma, non-small cell lung cancer, and even colorectal cancer.
No way, that's huge. What about that other approach you mentioned, the one that doesn't use antibodies?
Oh, right. That one uses what we call GITR ligand fusion proteins. These are basically proteins designed to send that activate GITR signal straight to the immune cells.
So no more mimicking the signal with an antibody? We're going straight to the source.
Yep, you got it.
That's pretty amazing. What's the advantage of doing it that way?
Well, it's all about being super precise. With these fusion proteins, we might be able to, like, target specific spots in the body.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, or even, like, zero in on specific types of immune cells.
So less like carpet bombing and more like a like a laser-guided missile.
Exactly. Now, it's still pretty early for this kind of therapy, but so far things are looking really good.
That's great to hear, but I have to imagine, I mean, our bodies are incredibly complex, right? There
Yeah.
must be challenges in developing these GITR therapies.
Oh, for sure. One of the biggest ones is, well, it's making sure we activate GITR on the right cells.
Right. We don't want to accidentally turn down the immune system entirely.
Exactly. Remember those regulatory T cells, the Tregs?
The peacekeepers.
Yeah, we got to make sure we don't overstimulate them while we're trying to activate the effector T cells.
Right. Finding that sweet spot is key. What other hurdles are researchers facing? It's like trying to walk this crazy tightrope, right?
Yeah, kind of. Too much stimulation, and boom, you risk suppressing the immune system, but too little.
The therapy just like fizzles out.
Exactly. And then there's the whole issue of the tumor microenvironment itself.
Oh, right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's often like super fortified, designed to keep those immune cells out no matter what.
So even if those cancer-fighting cells are all fired up, thanks to GITR, they still got to get through the door.
That's the big challenge, yeah. It's like, imagine a bouncer at a club, only this bouncer is really good at its job.
Tough crowd.
That's why researchers are like looking at ways to combine GIPR therapies with other treatments, like those checkpoint inhibitors we talked about earlier.
Right, right.
So the hope is that by using a combo, first we release the brakes on the immune system, then we hit the gas with GITR.
Makes sense. Two-pronged approach.
Oh. Exactly. It's like we're clearing a path for those immune cells, and then we're giving them a map right to the tumor.
Love that analogy.
Mm.
But even though all this research sounds super promising, there's still a lot we don't know.
Well,
right?
absolutely. Tons we're still figuring out.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, for one thing, we need to know which patients would actually benefit from these GITR-based therapies.
So it's not like one size fits all.
Not even close. Just like with, almost every cancer treatment, everyone responds differently.
Right. Everyone's different.
And so researchers are working really hard to find these things called biomarkers.
Biomarkers, what are those?
So biomarkers are like these clues or indicators that can tell us if a particular GITR therapy would work for a specific person.
Oh, that's super helpful. No more guessing games. You just know what will work best.
Exactly. That's the dream.
Wow. It's incredible to think that we have this potential secret weapon right inside us.
It really is amazing.
And to think all of this whole deep dive into GITR and how it could totally change how we treat cancer. It was all first published just a couple weeks ago on October 3rd, 2024. It really feels like we're just at the beginning of something huge, something that could like rewrite how we think about cancer treatment forever.